Hey, what's up? So currently it's midnight and I just randomly had the urge to make a video. So here we are. I am going to do another spotlight video on another Garo issue from the 1973 year. So this one here is a May issue, cover by Tsuge Tadao, which I believe is one of the only covers he's done for the entirety of the magazine. The other one being his special issue, which makes sense. But other than this, I can't really think of any other covers he's done off the top of my head. But this one has like a special place in my heart because 1973 covers are probably my favorite year of covers in all of Garo. I was collecting the run, and this was the very last issue that I needed to complete it. So even better because while going through this and actually reading it, it was also a really fun and interesting issue as well, with a couple of new names, or actually one main new name that was very entertaining to read. So we'll get started on this one. So we've got a color page at the front by Akiyama Shigenobu, who doesn't actually have a chapter in this issue, so just an illustration, and another dream story by Akasagawa Genpei. So the first chapter that we have here is actually a chapter 2. So this one says Heiwa Manor Residents, chapter 2, Ryu's Return Day by Tsuge Tadao. So unfortunately, I don't have the issue where the first chapter was serialized. I believe off the top of my head, it was like December 1972. So I couldn't understand anything, so I didn't really go ahead and read it. I'm just gonna, in the future, get that 72 issue and read it all together, because I believe there are 3 total chapters for this series. But this specific series, or like little story, hasn't been translated in English, so it's not in Trash Market nor Slum Wolf. And here we go, we've got the cover page here, but just in the duotone orange instead. So yeah, not too sure what is happening throughout, but while flicking through this, I noticed that there were some similar character designs to other stories that Tadao has done, so I have no idea if they are recurring characters or if they're completely new. Also, I haven't read Sabu the Bruiser. I don't have that English version at all, so maybe this one's in there. I will have to check later. But yeah, Slum Wolf and Trash Market do not have these stories, which I checked beforehand. So as usual, amazing art. I was talking with a friend as well about Tadao's art style and how raw it was, and how his fight scenes are always so brutal, even though on the level of detail is not as complex as like other works. It very much suits the stories that he's telling, the whole atmosphere of his stories. So amazing stuff by Tadao. And yeah, so that was the first story there, or the first chapter of the Heiwa Manor Residents by Tadao. So we'll move on to the next story. This is called Sorrowful Life by Oji Suzuki, which was actually like republished in like another one of his short story collections. So this is it here. This is what it looks like in a more clearer light. But yeah, this one, not too sure what happened in this. It's a very confusing story. The main character is like a mangaka of sorts, so I'll just flick through this. Sometimes as well, if I'm not really paying attention, when I flick through these issues, these 70s issues with Suzuki and Shinichi Abe, I sometimes get them mixed up because they are kind of similar. We do have a Shinichi Abe chapter at the end as well, but yeah, if you took like a quick glance at this story, you can very much confuse the two. They have their own, characteristics, but their backgrounds can feel similar at times as well. For Suzuki, he goes for a more, I guess, surreal, and it's got a lot of like magical realism happening, but Shinichi Abe, on the other hand, does more grounded, realistic works, recounting parts of his own life as well. So that's a difference that they have. But then again, Oji Suzuki has done that too, recounting parts of his life experiences in his works as well. So yeah, but it's interesting. Like I might as well just flip over. This is the Shinichi Abe chapter at the back. This is Oji Suzuki. So you can kind of see here how like similar they are at times. Like even now when I'm flicking through, I'm doubting, am I getting this wrong? Is this an Oji Suzuki chapter and not a Shinichi Abe, and I wasn't making a mistake? No, I'm not. But yeah, that was just an interesting thing that I thought of while reading through that. So yeah, the next chapter we have is chapter 3 of the Rensai manga Traveler Boy or Traveler-kun by Shinji Nagashima. Continuation. This started in the 1973 run, so if you've been watching the previous 1973 Garo spotlights, you'll have seen this Traveler Boy. So yeah, pretty much just adventures, encountering weird, wacky things as well. So this one, I really loved this chapter despite not knowing what the hell happened in it. I guess it's pretty open, but this here is called Demon Love by Kusunoki Shouhei. So one thing that's interesting as well, you can see the title bleed through on the next page, but this is probably one of the most detailed, in terms of artwork at least, one of the most detailed chapters by Kusunoki Shouhei in terms of his line work, just that cloud alone. So what we start off with is this demon. I'm not entirely sure if it's a specific demon of like some mythology or if it's just a demon that that Shohei has created, but it's overlooking this woman here who, despite having the rain fall down around her, she is completely fine. So here we go, we've got a shot of this, and this manga is fully silent except for one piece of dialogue at the end. So it seems to be, if you think back to the title Demon Love, this demon seems to be infatuated with this woman. Then we fast forward to night where she's sleeping, and he's here just watching her in the corner. We have a little close-up, and then we have the one line of dialogue which translates to something like, "I ate it." Not too sure. And then it cuts to him, I guess, going back onto the cloud and going away. So I'm not sure what is being referred to when it says here that it ate something. Did it eat something of like from the woman? It's so vague to me and open that like my mind went through so many different possibilities. I was thinking like, oh, her lips look slightly dry. Did it rob her of her life because it wanted to be with her? Did it take some form of sickness away from her? I'm not too sure, but even though it is quite open and I'm confused as to what had happened, it's one of my favorite chapters of this issue and of Kusunoki Shouhei's chapters that I've read so far as well. The entire manga was just so detailed. Like, not to say that his other works aren't detailed, but this is on just another level. So he was really going crazy with this one at least. So yeah, that was a really enjoyable chapter from Kusunoki Shouhei. So we'll move on to another chapter that this one here is by Hanawa Kazuichi, titled Warrior Woman, something along the lines of that. And I just realized I probably have the sense of that, but this actually has been shown off in a previous video of mine. Whoops, different manga. This one here is the early works of Hanawa Kazuichi, and it does appear in here. And this is a good time as well to remind you guys that there will be an English translation of not of this specific work, but of another tankobon titled Moonlight, which is a collection of short stories that Hanawa Kazuichi did. The publisher for this, I believe, I don't remember off the top of my head who announced it, but I'll put it in the description. That has been announced on their socials, so check that out and keep an eye out for that as well. But essentially, this manga, or this chapter here, we have, well, a man has deserted the army during a war, but it turns out that the wife had been hiding. So this is the wife, and this is the sister of the husband. The wife had been hiding the husband, trapped in this sort of like under the floor, and she tortures him out of love, she says, at least. So he's not doing well. I will also have to be careful because, yeah, there can be some panels that I'll have to censor, but insane double page spread of just the war happening. And on the bottom we have the sister discovering that the wife had hid the husband away, and they both get trapped. But at the end, the brother bites the sister to the point where she will die from bleeding, so that I guess she won't have to suffer. But they take their revenge by sticking a needle up through the floor. Very painful. But yeah, that's probably one of the most detailed artworks that I've seen from Hanawa, which for Hanawa, everything he does is just insanely detailed. But this one I always think back to just the level of, if you zoom in, the line work on the ships, on the clouds, the explosions, it's just crazy stuff. But yeah, always love Hanawa. And just a note as well, in the future, another 1973 issue has a Hanawa cover on it, which is amazing. I will show that off when I do read it. I think it was like maybe June, the next one. But it's a pink one, if you've ever seen it. Amazing one. But yeah, so we'll move on to the next story. This is another one by Kawasaki Yukio, titled Showa Detective Story, which I will just flick through. Tons of panels, I mean, in Kawasaki Yukio's work. Yep. And then we've got some more Susumu Katsumata Works, 4-panel works, and I think, no, just 4-panel works. Okay, yep. And then we go to another chapter here by Fujisawa Mitsuo. This one is titled Inchworm. So previously, throughout all the Garo spotlights that I've done, Fujisawa Mitsuo, there was a lot of the chapters I showed were from one specific series, but this one here is a separate story. It's completely like silent, or has no dialogue, and I'm not sure if there is a plot or not, but it is very reminiscent of Sasaki Maki. Like, while I was reading this, I was thinking of Sasaki Maki with how random and sort of like, because with Sasaki Maki, every panel is its own manga, it feels like, and this one felt the same, so that's why I was reminded of Sasaki Maki, because it's very much just nonsense gag, everything going crazy, and we've got a interesting empty panel in the middle, so I wonder what that's about, but that's the inchworm that the title refers to. So yeah, interesting one. We've got a couple of silent manga in this issue. Now we're going to go to the next chapter, which I think is the highlight of this this entire issue, and unfortunately I could not find any information on this author. So this is a story that translates to something like Inhuman Love by a mangaka named Gon Yasutoshi. So this mangaka throughout all of Garo had only contributed 3 one-shots throughout the early 70s, and I could not find any information at all on them online. It seems to be another case of, we've encountered this before in Garo, but a lot of newcomers to Garo that have contributed maybe 1 or 2 one-shots and they just disappeared from the magazine. I was searching up their name as well, and I couldn't even find if they did any other works for other magazines. So it just seems like this mangaka just popped in as a newcomer and then popped out after 3 one-shots, which is, it's sad as well, because this is one of the coolest one-shots that I've seen, art-wise at least. It's such a cool art style. It's so detailed. This whole issue has just been, the level of line work has been so crazy throughout this whole issue. So yeah, Inhuman Love, what this is about. So I'll just zoom in because the art, we'll go through every panel. It's amazing. What has been happening is that this boy, his mother had passed away from maybe some kind of illness. And what has happened is that his father had turned into a recluse after that. So he went pretty silent, started neglecting the boy, and here the boy is just sitting in their house, not having much to do. And like, just look at this artwork. Honestly, I think I would be really curious as to how this whole manga would look with black ink, because this Garo issue, it's in blue ink. Usually when they're published in tankobon later, like, it would be black ink instead, but this is the only ever appearance of this story. But we've got a shot of the father here, who is just suffering after his wife's death, and the boy is just pretty much just lonely, doesn't have much to do. His father isn't doing anything for him at all. But one day, the boy enters a locked room. Sorry, I'm just so distracted by how good the artwork is. But yeah, he does enter a locked room that he's been told not to go into. And here he is, he spots his dad inside. And what he sees is that his dad is kneeling down and there's a bed. But the bed, in the bed, seems to be his mother, alive, looking a lot more healthy for some reason. And so keep in mind, the title of this chapter is called Inhuman Love. So he notices his mum there and he starts running away confused. And so what happens is that years pass, we get a time skip, and he returns to the house to meet his father again. So this is him years later. Just love that facial expression. This face reminds me of another mangaka, I don't know who, maybe Maruo, I'm not too sure, but very fine details. So the boy comes back, he's older now, and another amazing panel. The way that he just renders the sky like that, it's like kind of like you can see sort of like a circular motion in it, I guess. And him walking back all zombie-like, tattered clothes. Comes back and he meets his father again. So here they are. Got a little tree in the middle. So when he comes back to meet his father, they actually go to the room that's he had he had entered without permission beforehand. And what happens is inside he finds his mum is still there, but also his dad too, which is a bit confusing because he just met his dad outside. And so it's revealed that the entire time that these were sort of dolls, I believe. And so it was kind of like a little misunderstanding where the beauty of the dolls, that's why they were so, his mum looked so healthy with such pale skin, was because it was a doll. I'm not too sure actually what happens towards the end entirely with his dad. Maybe his dad made a doll of himself. Maybe this dad wasn't real at all. So the ending is a little bit, I was a bit confused at least, but so don't take any of my interpretations as canon because I wasn't too sure about that last part, but at least it fits towards the title Inhuman Love, you know, it being a doll. But the finer details of like why the dolls were there, I could not really grasp. But yeah, that was such an amazing chapter, and I definitely will be finding whatever issues have his other two one-shots. So I put this up on Instagram. It seemed that a lot of people were interested as well, but I did notice as well reading through this chapter that he, number one, his playing with the shadows is amazing, but there are a lot of like parallel there is a parallel scene here of the boy when he was younger and the scene where it was coming back to with the sky being very distinct in both of them. So that was really interesting too. And I don't know why this also reminds me of there's this specific story in Nejishiki, the English release. One of the, I think it was the Master of the Gen Sankan Inn, something like that. A similar sort of panel with the guy with the mask returning. I think that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, that was a little tangent. But yeah, amazing one shot. Probably one of my favorite one shots I've read throughout all of Garo. So we'll be finding more of Gon Yasutoshi in the future and showing it off on the channel, hopefully. So yeah, so we'll move on to the next story. It's another story, I guess it's a series by Shintaro, titled Tale of the Gourd Heard by the Rich Man. I think I showed this off in another 73 issue as well, but this one I didn't really understand. Now we move on to here, another Pukaritopia chapter by Iwamoto Kyuusoku, like a nonsense gag mangaka who, in this story, it's this guy who's stuck in the middle. Every story in Pukaritopia is just people stuck in the ocean. He's stuck in the ocean. He meets this man who's just somehow running across the water like that. But he encounters this house that he goes into. As he goes into it, he sees a bird, and I don't know what that is actually. But the rest of the manga is just him trying to enter the house in different ways, and every time he gets into it, the animals are in different positions. So that was strange, but very fitting for Iwamoto. Yeah, so that was that chapter. Then we have the Shinichi Abe chapter called Excitement of the Day, which is also the name of one of his short story collections. So, which I have. So I think this one appears there as well, which, it should. It has the same name as the Tankobon. But this one, a bit hard to understand, but has something to do with patrolling samurai, killing people, maybe taking revenge, something like that. There's a lot of violence in this one, a lot of fighting. This band of samurais going around and just killing people, slicing people apart. I think towards the end there was like a big fight maybe, which I remember. I think. Not too sure. I really like this panel though. The sunflowers. Yeah, we've got them gearing up. Here they all are. They're ambushing someone. It looks like I'll have to censor that, and I'll have to censor that as well. And yeah, so that was the end of that guy, of course. And yeah, this one here is a sketch by Hayashi Seiichi. I think it's just advertising the one of his short story collections. And so yeah, that was the May issue of Garo in 1973. Really enjoyed this one, especially of course the Gon Yasutoshi chapter, but not even that. I really liked the Tadao chapter, loved the Hanawa one, which I've already read, loved the Fujisawa Mitsuo silent manga as well. Inhuman Love by Gon Yasutoshi is, for me, definitely the highlight. But of course, you know, shout out as well to Kusunoki Shouhei. That story was amazing. I still am trying to find a Kusunoki Shouhei like tankobon or collected book of his works, but very expensive actually, because he did pass away so young. I think it was Serindo that did they did publish like a reprint that collected his works, but even that one is hard to find. But yeah, hopefully I will find it in the future, because this was such a standout work from him. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed tonight's Garo Spotlight issue. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.